Hello, welcome back to Laser Cut and Fly RC Models. I'm the laser model guy. What I want to do in this video is I want to cut out all the parts that we've designed on Lightburn for our own plane, the one that we've designed, the Dixie. And I'm going to show you those parts on Lightburn and then send them across and get them all cut out. So this is the first sheet I'm going to start with. It's the 1/8 balsa, and I'm going to be using the Sculpfun S9, which is there. And before we do anything, I need to set up our layers. So the blue layer here, layer 1, that's going to be our engraving layer, and the black layer, layer 00, is going to be our cutting layer. Now, one of the things that I want to do is I want to do the engraving before we do the cutting. So all I'll do is I'll move this layer, grab it and just take it to there, and now you can see the blue layers on top. So the blue layer will go first, and the reason for that is if anything is cut out, one of the small components, and it falls through, it might misalign the engraving then, or the engraving might be a bit blurry if it's a little further away perhaps, or it might tip on an angle or something. So we've changed those round. Now the next thing to do is to set up our laser itself. So we click on the black one on the 00, and this is name C00, so we know we're on the right layer. And what we want to do is have our speed set at 500 millimeters per minute and our power set at 80. Now we got that from our test run that I did a few episodes ago. Now we don't have air assist, so I'll turn that off, and we want constant power mode so it doesn't drop power when it goes round corners or anything like that. So we only want one pass, so that's the layer 00 set up. Next we'll set up our engraving layer. Now we want that to be on around 600, and we're going millimeters per minute, and we're going to leave that at 20% power. Again, we're going to turn off air assist and we're going to turn on constant power mode. So that's our laser set up. Now if you have a look at the layers now, or at the sheets, our balsa sheets are 100 millimeters wide. So on this 100 millimeter line here, we don't want anything crossing that line, otherwise it will be cut out of two pieces. So there'll be it'll be half on one sheet and half on the other. Now our first sheet nearest to the XY line, or nearest to the X line, is just over 400. It's 410 millimeters long. Then our next sheet is a little smaller. You can see that needs to be about 380. Next one needs to be about 380, and the one after that needs to be, you can see here the measurement, 320. So when you look at what we've got on our laser, you can see that we've got different size pieces all side by side, and that's the reason why. So what I want to do is turn on the laser. So next I click on devices, and there's our laser. So I select that and press OK. And now the first thing I want to do, or the next thing I want to do, is I want to frame our stuff that we're cutting out, just to make sure that we haven't got little dots somewhere that it's going to pick up on, and to make sure our wood is in the correct place. So press frame. And everything looks absolutely fine. Next thing to do then is press start, and away we go. Okay, so this is the second sheet that we're going to cut out, and you can see that we've got a piece that is about 320 long, needs to be, and the other piece needs to be about 130, and that'll be the rest. That'll be the last of the 1/8 balsa. So once again, I'll just swap these layers so that the engraving layers first, and then I'll just set the layers up. So we're going with 500 millimeters per minute with 80%. With 80%, no air assist, and on constant power mode with 1 pass. So that's our engraving layer, that's our cutting layer, and now our engraving layer will be 600 millimeters per minute on 20% with no air assist and constant power. So that's that. So I'll just do a very quick frame to make sure that we're in the right place. So without waiting, let's just get straight on and start. Well, that's all our components cut out. I've got them all laid out here on sheets, and I'm looking forward to just popping those out and building the aeroplane. I've also done the plywood sheets, and I've got our rigid formers, which are going to provide the strength for our fuselage. So quite happy with those, and it's all looking good. Now, I also printed out the horns that we designed. Remember, we designed the horns for the, to operate the ailerons, and when we look at the aileron there, the little slot that we put in it, the horn will fit in there, and then that will just nicely operate those ailerons once we smooth them down and give them a little sand to make them perfect. Now, what I also did was I exported the Lightburn plan that I did, the full plan, and I exported that as a vector file, and I sent that away to the printer, and I've got this full-size A0 sheet with a plan on it, and I'm going to use that plan to build the aircraft. I'm going to do that now, or I'm going to start that now, but I could perhaps do with seeing how I can get the lines a little bit darker. It's very good, and it's come out really well, but I could do with it being a little bit darker than this. The lines are very, very fine. So with all that said, it's now time to start building the aeroplane. Okay, so I've put the plan now on a sheet of cardboard so I can use pins to hold down our parts, and I'm going to start with this wing. This is the right hand wing. I'm going to do that first, and then the left hand wing I'll do that second, and we'll then put them together, get the dihedral right, and be ready to go. So the good thing about the way we've done this, we've actually made the plan and then made the components from the plan, is that when you put these onto the plan, they're absolutely perfect fit, because this is obviously the plan that we've printed from Lightburn that we produced when we were making these parts. So I'm going to start by putting the main components on around the aileron and the wingtips, and then I'll put the central spar on and then put the ribs on from there. We've started building the Dixie. WT4. And next I'll put our central spar, or the bottom spar, because there's one bottom and there's one on the top. I'll put the central spar in there and I'll leave it a little bit long, and we'll trim that up later when we get all our ribs and formers on. A piece of 3.2mm balsa, and I'm just going to trim that to size and then just shape the end so that it fits nicely. Bring that down to exactly the right length. And there we are. Okay, on with the ribs. So the first rib sits right there, and you can see that's perfect fit. So if I just apply the glue, we'll get that one on. We've got W5 right here. That'll just fit there. Next is W4. Now W4 goes right onto the join there, and it goes the full length, goes fully onto the trailing edge. So it will help a little with the strength. There we go. So we've now got a whole series of W3 coming all the way along till we reach this point, and then we've got our shapes for our servos to go in. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. Okay, what I'll do is I'll have a little pause there just to let that set a little bit before I start putting the bits in here for the, to mount the servos. and then we'll put the other ribs on, and this wing will be all complete apart from the top spar and the leading edge. Okay, so I've got these components here. I've got the part that will go in there, and the other piece that will go in the top. And what these will do, I'll just show you how these will work before I glue those into place. The servo is this shape, and so it will sit right into that space there, and this part of the servo will be protruding from the bottom, and that's what will operate the aileron, which will sit here. Okay. So that will sit there, and this one will sit just there. Okay, so W3A. Now all of the A's, they're just W3 with the 16th extra piece cut out, so that our line can travel underneath them. So this is W3A, our former, or our rib. There, just like that. So we've built that little space in there now for the servo to sit in. So now we need a W2A, and we've got one there. And again, you can see that small recess there where the 16th sheet is going to sit. So W1A, and now this has got a couple of extra details. We've got the space for the cable, we've got the slot for the 16th material that's going to protect the cable. We've also got this extra slot, and that's going to be for the dihedral shape, which is made from plywood and is going to give our wing extra strength. So I'll just press that out, and that will provide extra strength in the wing and will sit right there. And what I think I shall do with that is I will place a small clamp just there to hold that in place, and maybe another just, I'll remove that pin carefully, and I'll place another small clamp just there. Okay. And finally, we have our W1, which again will sit straight over the strengthener for the dihedral and the spar and come to the back, but this needs to be just tilted over 3.5 degrees, so that when we put the two wings together, the dihedral, because one wing is going slightly up and the other is going slightly up, those two will come together and perform and be the strong part of the connection of the two wings. So all I'm going to do with that is make sure that is very, very parallel and just over slightly, just like that. So what I need to do now is I need to leave this so that all that can set, and then I'll be able to put the top spar on and the leading edge on, and that'll be this side of the wing almost complete. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to put this top spar in, because we've set quite nicely. So I've put a little bit of glue in each of the ribs, and all I'm going to do is go from the end here and just make sure that it pushes right down into each of those. It's a nice perfect fit, and then that'll give us a lot of rigidity for the wing. And then what I'll do just at this point here is I'm just going to just nick that slightly and then press that down so that it just cracks. And then again, the same thing right on this end rib here, just so that that fastens down. And then what we'll do is we'll fill those with a little bit of glue, and we will be able to smooth that off once it's all set. So just a tiny spot of glue in there, tiny spot of glue in there, and that gives us a nice spar all the way along the top. So with having the top and bottom spar, this will be quite a nice rigid wing. Okay, so last thing to do then on this wing, until we're ready to fit the electronics, which will be some time later, is just to fit this leading edge. All I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue in each of these birds' mouths. And then I'm going to fit the leading edge, and the end where it fits to the wingtip, I'll be sticking that down later once it's all set elsewhere, because that'll just have to bend and shape down a little bit, and it'd be best if I let this all set before I do that. I've just shaped this end so that it fits, so that it'll fit this, and all I'm going to do is make sure that this end is right on that first former, just there where the dihedral is going to meet. So I'll put a few pins in. The other wing is going to be made in exactly the same way, so I'll let you see that, or you'll see that once it's all complete. And thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you all next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll leave this here for now, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next time.